This video continues from the previous. Before I show you the spreadsheet, I wanted to show you this. And this was just a list of some examples of green building materials. You can also, there are a lot of websites out there, a lot of resources for using them. And also, one of the things that has started to happen is companies will tell you if their products are sustainable and green. And there are certifications that they can have that prove that. So you don't just, have to believe what they say. Okay, so we've talked about all these things. Here's some examples. We talked a little bit about bamboo. And again, bamboo is a fast growing, it's a grass. Here is a link for making sure that your wood is free from toxic chemicals. So you could go to the Forest for Stewardship Council, and they will help you make sure you're selecting a truly green bamboo. Reclaimed wood. This is a good one. We have so much wood in the Southeast and in the United States and North America in general. There's a lot of wood because trees grow very well here. So you can find what is called reclaimed wood from retired barns, salvage yards. There are buyers who sell it. Shipping crates and pallets. I mean, that has become a thing lately, is reusing shipping crates and pallets. And I think it's a great thing because that wood is already cut uniformly. So if you could get a hold of, say, 30 pallets and you could pull them apart, the wood in them is all cut to the same size. So now you're saving the energy and the effort in cutting them. Now you do have to deconstruct them, and there's effort there, but that usually is not as energy consumptive as it is to cut the wood into the sizes that you want. Home remodeling companies and contractors. Find a contractor who does remodeling. Find a remodeler to work with on your project. They'll have access to these things. Okay. Cork, I had briefly mentioned that it was something that came out. It was like, I remember when it came out commercially available. And it actually caught on. People were actually very interested in it because when they harvest the cork, it doesn't hurt the trees. It's just bark. The bark from each tree can be stripped up to 20 times during its life cycle. Not only is it highly renewable, but it also has hypoallergenic properties, fire retardant qualities, and is resistant to liquids. So, cork. Mushroom, mycelium. This is pretty cool. They've been using this in combination with sawdust to form it into any shape, and it actually is structural. So you can use, a lot of people try to avoid funguses growing in their houses. Well, here's one that you purposely want because it can withstand extreme temperatures. So it's very organic. And at the end of the life cycle, it is biodegradable. Therefore, it can replace styrofoam and even concrete. Ferric is another concrete alternative, and it is what's left over from when they cut stone. And so what happens, or steel. And so what happens is, instead of going to the landfill, we're now taking a product that used to be waste and turning it into iron carbonate. And so it can then be used as an alternative for anywhere concrete is used. Actually, so I'm going to say sheep's wool is not green or sustainable because it is requiring the use of sheep, and you should watch a video on shearing sheep. It is not, in my opinion, kind. So I'm not going to cover that. I've seen pictures of sheep being sheared. It's cruel. Okay, recycled steel. You can use steel from buildings that are being demolished, and that can help. So right now in North America, wood is usually the least expensive means for building. Stick framing is the least expensive. There was a brief period that I recall in the 90s when the cost of wood went through the roof. And so a lot of homes were being built with aluminum. And so, there are times that may happen because when you're bidding a project as a contractor or a remodeler or a builder, you're always looking for the least expensive way to build it. And so, if that involves using steel or aluminum framing instead of wood, that can happen. So, by recycled steel is actually because it's 100% recyclable. Now we're not going to cut down any trees at all, and that may be something that we can do. And then it allows you different design possibilities. With wood, you can span about 40 feet before you start having serious deflection in your wood. With steel, you can go hundreds of feet depending on the size of it. Now, obviously, that would have to be factored in, and how do you get it to the site? And you're going to need a crane for something that's really big. But for small enough steel, it could save a lot and give you some really creative design opportunities. Of course, low E windows. Low E stands for low thermal emissivity, and we talked a little bit about that. It helps block rays, and it also has that air gap because glass is the worst for insulation and air is the best. So if you put the best in between two plates of glass, you've now greatly increased the emissivity of your windows. And then you saw in the one that we looked at in Vermont, they had 3 pieces of glass and 2 air pockets. That might be overkill in somewhere like Georgia. I had windows put on my house when I first bought it that were the 2 panes of glass with the argon pocket, and it's enough for Georgia. Further north, you may need 3. Okay. All right, so let's go to the spreadsheet here. Move this into view. Okay, so this is the residential single family workbook that you can download from LEED. And I've zoomed out, and I'm going to zoom in now. If I can, whoops, sorry, I'm going to move this so I can zoom in. There we go. Maybe. There we go. I have to access this. All right, so I'm going to zoom in. And it's a scorecard sheet that you can use in development of your project. And you see there are instructions. And this talks about, this is where you would fill in all your data. And once you fill in your data, this will help you. Whoops, I just lost my spreadsheet there. Oh, I pulled on the wrong thing. Okay, so you would need to put in your information. And then this gives you a scorecard for the neighborhood. This is if you're in a neighborhood. And then this is a batch. And so you're going to see this has different sheets for credits. And I have never filled one of these out. So I'm not going to tell you that it's an easy process looking at this. But, okay, so what happens is, I can tell you this. You see that this gives you an overall scorecard. And they are linked to, all right, so you see this says IP. That's linked to this page. So you would fill out this page. And it's great. It tells you, it walks you through the process. For instance, so you're going to select one of these. Team members include capacities in at least 3 of the following skill sets. And look at this. Architecture or residential building design. You see, residential building design for a long time was not recognized as a separate industry from commercial architecture. And it has become one more and more. And so you're starting to see us included in the process. Okay, and so what you would do is you would go through and you would fill all of this out. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you guys look at this as students, you're going to be overwhelmed because there's a lot of this you don't know, that we haven't covered, that you haven't learned, but you will. And if you're interested in doing green and sustainable design, start interning for companies for residential designers who do. And you'll learn more by working directly with them on a daily basis. Okay, so back to the scorecard. All right, so the next category is LT, and you just go to the LT tab. And so as you fill this out, like sensitive land protection, previously developed, right? You get points for what you can fill in on this. And it would be dependent on your project. So each one of these is linked back to the score sheet. And so you go through and you fill this out. And it tells you, it fills this in and ends up telling you your overall score. And so here's the thing. You can get silver, gold, or platinum. Those are the 3 classifications, and it depends on your points. Now, you would obviously have to go through and fill this out honestly to know what your score is. To actually get the LEED classification, you would have to go through the certification process. You would have to submit for certification, and then a team would evaluate your project. And they might not agree with you on everything, so I would recommend being a little conservative to err on the side of the fact that they might be more. And so with this worksheet, and I will upload this will be uploaded into the course, will allow you to just take a look at it a little bit, go back and forth, type in some numbers and see how it starts to add up. And so you can start to see how hard it actually is to meet these numbers. Unless you start your career with the mindset of trying to be green and sustainable. And then this becomes easy and this becomes natural, and your buildings start getting certified for silver, gold, and platinum status. And that's a huge thing to be able to use as a selling point for your company or your services to your clients who are looking for that. And so there's all these tabs just link back to, let me zoom out more. And just so you can see, there's quite a bit. And I'm pretty sure, as always, the more you fill these out and the more familiar you become with the process, the more you can start thinking about it. And so what you could do is use this in the beginning, right? When you're working on designing a building, and know that these are the things you should strive for. This sheet helps tell you what they are, the things that you should be thinking about. For instance, total water use. Well, okay, that's something that's going to get me points in LEED, so it's something I should start considering in my designing process when I'm picking my water fixtures. And you guys are going to take a class in that at the end of your degree that will talk more about how to know. The county I live in, you are required. I was told at the time by my inspector that DeKalb County, Georgia, is the only county in the country, and it was at the time, he said. I didn't verify, but I know it's probably not anymore. That requires you. You can't complete your purchase of a property without a certification that it has low water usage fixtures. And, my husband and I joke that sometimes you have to flush the toilet twice because the low water doesn't always get the toilet to flush fully. And so we're not sure it really is low usage, but you get credit for that. So, and then there's even these great calculators you can use. Okay, we're going to stop here and continue in the next video.